Hello and welcome back to season 2 of the podcast at the card table, where we discuss creation, practice, performance, and history with the greatest minds in Magic. I'm incredibly excited to let you know that this episode is also brought to you by MAGICBOX. They have all of your Magic needs covered, from the latest releases to absolute classics and all of the extras you could possibly need to keep you going. Make sure to check them out and use code PATCT at the checkout. That is PATCT at checkout for 10% off your next order. Until then, on with the episode. Today's guest is one of America's most inspirational magicians, seamlessly blending magic and storytelling to create moments of wonder. With 2 magic specials and a comedy special on Amazon Prime and YouTube, over 100 million views and 250,000 followers on social media, this guy somehow still found the time to write 2 books on the magical applications to real-life problems. It is, of course, the very busy Taylor Hughes. How are we doing, Taylor?
I'm so good, Corey. First of all, I didn't know all that about myself. And I feel like I should be hiring you to record anything I need a voice on. Like, can you do like Friends voice drills?
By all means. I absolutely love doing voices and impressions. So,
oh my goodness, I love it. It sounds so authoritative and kind, and I've got a weird American accent.
That is completely the opposite to what people normally say about the Geordie accent. So
really?
That is very kind of you. Yeah, it's normally I feel like Geordie's very quite an aggressive accent. I don't like it, but
it took me being best friends with Mark James to learn about all the different accents in the UK.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
You can move like half an hour down the road and it's like being in a totally different country. Like,
yeah, it's wild.
The vocal depth is absurd. And to be fair, most of which I don't understand either. So perfect. We are going to jump all the way back to when you first got into Magic. How did you get into it and why did you get into Magic?
So when I was 7 years old, we had a family friend. It was my stepdad's best friend, and he was a stand-up comedian here in LA. And so whenever he'd come over, he'd be, cracking jokes around the table. He was just the funniest guy. And he had gotten his start in Magic. So he was the first person to like shove a salt shaker through our dining room table. And then I begged him and begged him and begged him. And he started teaching me some magic tricks. And then my mom said, hey, would you do, his name was Lance, not the one you're thinking of. She said, hey, would you do a show for Taylor's birthday party? And he's thinking, I can't do, comedy. I can't do my stand-up comedy set I do at the Comedy Store in LA for 7-year-olds. So he put together a little magic act, and I was hooked. And I've just been doing it ever since.
Incredible. Obviously, I assume there was a gradual transition into this. It wasn't just from there straight into being on stage. How did you progress from initially seeing that magic to then potentially getting sets as a kid to then moving to actually learning like professional magic?
Yeah, my parents bought me a Harry Blackstone Jr. magic set, and I got that set, and I just was obsessed with it. And then this same guy, Lance, told me, he's like, the library has books on magic, and I couldn't believe it. I felt like somebody was telling me that you could just walk out that door and you'd be on the moon. Like, are you kidding? Like, you can just go get. How is that a possibility? So I went to the library, and sure enough, 793.8. I don't know if you guys Dewey Decimal there? Is that
we do? Thing? Yeah.
So all the magic books, man, they're all there, and I couldn't believe it. And they just let you borrow them, and so I would borrow them all, and then I'd go to the library in the city next door, and I would borrow them all, and I just kept doing that, and I gave most of them back.
I was about to say, how many of those do you still have?
I have one called Spooky Magic that was this little thin book that would teach you, like, it was like a mix of like Halloween party tricks and magic. And I got it in my 4th grade classroom at school because they had like a shelf of books, and one of them was that. And I thought, I cannot, like, as a magician now, like I had claimed that I was now a magician, I can't allow these secrets to just be available to the muggles in my classroom, So I took it, and I just found it recently, and I died laughing that, my my love for magic is tied to a misdemeanor,
I mean, probably most people's is, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. It's not helpful that they teach you how to hide things and walk away with them,
There you go.
I did my first show when just like for some family friends, and then my first real show was for this kid in my class at school. Her name was Shannon, and I um, did the milk pitcher trick and like poured milk all over it, and it ended up being a story I told in one of my specials. But I've just been doing it. Like my parents would drive me when I was 12 years old. They would drive me to houses, strange houses, for people who didn't realize they had hired a 12-year-old over the phone to come to a magic show. And they'd wait outside, and I'd do the show, and then they'd pick me up. And I've
No
just,
way.
yeah, we had a in the when I was a kid, like early '90s, we had like the best magic shops around. Like we had Hollywood Magic in LA. We had we just had a local place in a city called La Puente. That sounds like I'm making it up, but that's a real place. And there was a guy there named Joe Garcia who would, I probably shouldn't have said his name, but this guy was the wildest character. You know how in magic you meet the quirky people? Like this guy was the dude who was like, "Hey, you want to do a dove act in the show on Friday?" And you'd be like, "I don't have any birds." And he'd be like, "Well, if you rent my coat that has the pockets, I'll throw in the doves for free." And then you put on this big oversized coat, and like it was crazy. My buddy would be doing the dove act, and then he'd be like, "Hey, you have a girlfriend, right? Yeah, you can borrow my sword box, and you can put the girl in the box." It was like the Wild West. But I got so obsessed with anything related to magic that you start to find these other weirdos who are into the same thing that you're into. And now, you know, on Monday night, I'm going to like a basement of a Catholic church in Pasadena for the SAM convention, you know, SAM group. And then eventually I joined the junior group at the Magic Castle. And that was like game over. This is for real. And yeah, it changed my life. I credit most of my career to getting involved in that group as a kid.
Do you think having those gigs so early on helped with getting the chops and getting the confidence that you do now? Because I feel like as a kid, fear is non-existent for the most part when it comes to stuff like that. So, do you think that really helped shape the person that you've become today and the sort of persona that you have?
For sure. I think everybody needs a place where they can be bad for a while. Like you have to have permission to suck at something so you can get good at it. And I think one of the downsides of like there's so many positives of the internet and the fact that like when I was a kid, I knew three other people that did magic. That was it. So I compared myself amongst three people that I knew that did magic. You know what I mean? But now you can go on and you can follow all these people and you can see their stuff. So one of the downsides I think is we're comparing ourselves to people who are like 20 years into a journey and we're like 2 weeks in. And it's like playing the guitar. Nobody walks out of a guitar store and goes like can be ripping on the guitar, but you walk out of a magic shop with an invisible deck and you go like, oh man, I'm pretty good at this. And then you see someone else who's been doing it for a while and you start to like you get this bipolar feeling of like I'm either the greatest or I'm the worst, you know. They're either going to make a monument of me or, you know, I walk slowly into the ocean, you know.
Yeah,
I think we just need to allow people to have place where they can be bad at stuff and be kind to themselves in the process. So, as a kid, those places like the junior group at the castle. Um, I grew up. I was like a church kid when I was younger. I got a whole story about that, a show where we talk about that journey. But when I was a kid, like they'd be like, "Hey, we need someone to like do the announcements." Okay, and I got used to being really bad holding a microphone and you do it enough and you get more comfortable with it. So yeah, I think those kind of things are just the best. Find a place where you can be bad and you'll get better.
incredible. Obviously, coming from like a comedy background as well, things like comedy clubs obviously open up opportunities for people to work their chops in a comedy sense.
Yeah.
How would you recommend, slight side tangent, how would you recommend people
Yeah.
in the magic community do a similar sort of thing? Like you said there, obviously there's the junior castle, there's obviously the magic circle over here.
Yeah.
How else would you recommend people getting in the time and the chops? Because stage isn't something you can just walk onto and do it. Like you
No,
need the time, you need the repetition. What would you say is a nice pathway if you can suggest something?
for sure. For sure. I mean, when you're first starting, Someone told me once in business, when you're first starting with anything, and it took me years to look at what we do as a business, but if you want to get invited to do more things, you kind of got to approach it that way. And somebody told me that when you first start, you need to say yes to everything, every opportunity. It doesn't matter. There's no gig that's beneath you. You know, eventually you'll get to a point where you'll be a little more choosy and you'll say no to most things and only yes to the things that make sense. But I mean, I have performed in every kind of bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, golf tournaments, like any sort of gig you can do, you should do. And so when I was first starting out, younger and wanting to do magic, I would just look for events that I didn't have any connection to them. You know, I did one event at a golf course, and I found out that they had a calendar of all the events that they do. And so, and every one of those events has a contact for like, hey, if you want to volunteer or if you'd like to buy a ticket, and they put the phone number or the email of the person in charge of the event. And so I literally would sit there with a list of 50 events and call every single one and say, I'm a local magician. Do you have any entertainment? You know, I'd love to. I mean, there's sometimes where I would volunteer to like come in for free just to get reps in. Like now, again, I wouldn't say as a pro you want to be doing that. You won't be in business very long. But if you're trying to just get stage time and flight time, I would just look for places that have a need for that and where you can fulfill that need, right? Like business is just solving people's problems. So find someone who has an event that also has a problem. If it's a wedding, you know, and you go, hey, you know that part of the wedding where everybody is waiting for the bride and groom and you guys are having your moment, but people are getting a little hangry because they can't eat? Yeah, I make that moment fun, you know, and just insert yourself as the solution to that problem, and then you'll get that kind of flight time. And then everything else, like comedy clubs are great. You know, like if I was starting out today, I would probably like reach out to every brewery. I don't know if that's a big thing where you're at, but we have all these
Yeah, we got microbreweries over here.
and they do like trivia night, you know, they're doing karaoke. And I just reach out and be like, hey, I'm a local magician. I know a bunch of other comedians and magicians. What if we did like a variety night and just create an event and make yourself the MC and you'll get a lot of flight time, you know? So for years, I would think that this business was built on opportunities being handed to you. And then I realized nobody's waking up today thinking, how do we make sure Taylor gets to get on stage? You know, so you could just make an opportunity for yourself if you just be the one to set it up. So that's what I would say is like, just get aggressive about like, hey, I got something fun to share. I want to find people who like to laugh or have a good time or be amazed, and then just offer to do that for people.
There you go, 12 minutes in and already with the hard hitters.
Oh,
just call it there. Everybody's business problem solved. Just create it for yourself. There you go. I mean, that is, yeah, as you say, comedy nights, variety nights, approaching people and putting on your own stuff. Like, if the work's not coming to you, take the work to the people, because people want magic. So
yeah, man. I mean, the reality is nobody's buying a magic show. You know, even now, like I do this full time. I do half my year as corporate entertainment, half of my time as theaters and comedy clubs. But no company is sitting there going, you know what, guys, we're hitting our sales goals, and this is the best season we've ever had. You know what we need though? We need someone that can walk around magic, right? But what they do have is problems like, oh, we've got a conference coming up that has so much content in it that it's like really content heavy. We should have something to balance that out. Or, hey, the team's been working really hard. We need to like encourage them to keep going. Or, you know, we want to appreciate everybody for all the work they've been doing. Like those are the problems they're trying to solve. So I just think like make the magic show not the thing you're selling. You're selling the solution, and the way you do that is through a magic show, and you get busy. So
yeah, reframing it. Game changer.
That's it, man. That's it.
Incredible. We're going to jump into some quick fire questions. I say quick fire very loosely because these never stay quick fire. And then we're going to jump into some more slightly in-depth questions a little later on. The first one is, What is your favorite sleight? Most people immediately assume that this is specifically about cards, but this could be coins, it could be stage stuff. Do you have a particular favorite sleight?
Oh my goodness. If it was cards, it would be Leonard Green's angle separation. I think he was the one who came up with it. But that
Yeah,
little thing where you jog the cards up and down and you can like separate red through black as you're going through.
so good.
I think it's such an underutilized move. And also, when I was a kid, I learned from Michael Ammer Easy to Master Card Miracles. So my card magic is very amateur. There's great stuff in there, but I didn't go past that very much. So I think the Leonard Green stuff was as far as I went.
I mean, if Leonard's the cap that you've put on it, that's a pretty high cap anyway. So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's like CGI watching him do stuff.
There's a beautiful variation of that where you're doing it onto a table as you're dealing cards as well, and you get the same separation, which is really, really cool.
Oh, I'm going to need you to show me that.
Yeah, I'll find out whose it is, but it's great. And then as you're picking up the cards, you can separate accordingly. It's really, really nice.
Oh, that's great.
It's very, very cool. Is that specifically something that you utilize all the time, or you think is underutilized, or is it because it's a nice tactile feeling?
It's one of I think a good move is one that you can sit on the couch and just do without thinking about it. While it's like almost like like having a fidget toy or something.
Yeah.
But I also I have a routine that if somebody was like, hey, do a card trick, it's kind of like my go-to, and it's based around that sleight. So I just love it. It's fun.
So good. And as you mentioned there, I think one of the best ways to get reps in for any sort of sleight is, as you say, sitting subconsciously drilling whatever you're doing. Like, I owned my second deal just by any opportunity I got, no matter what I was doing. If I was watching TV or I was waiting for somebody, bam, 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 just drilling it, because that's time that you're doing nothing anyway. So if you've got something in your hands and you can still be talking and doing other things whilst doing it, that's reps that you wouldn't get otherwise.
I learned the muscle pass watching like cartoons on repeat as a kid. Like I'd be like 10 years old just trying to do the muscle pass over and over. And eventually, you're with the $50, and eventually it goes, boop, and you're like, oh, I moved a little. The elation of like again, doing something bad for a long time, and all of a sudden you can do something no one else can do. It's great.
Yeah. And allowing yourself to do so, that's the main thing. Rather than just being like, I mean, much like myself, rather than looking at the muscle pass and going, that's never happening. Cards are my happy place. Coins scare the shit out of us. So.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I watch some of these coin guys now, and I'm like, why do they do it? Like, it's insane. It is funny, too. I love it in Magic how some things become natural to magicians because we watched them over and over. But sometimes you see a guy, and he's like this. And he's like showing his hands like this, and you're like, I bet a coin's gonna show up.
Yeah, he's been washing his hands for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's crazy, especially with the past few years, especially with coin magic, and I mean cards as well and cardistry. Like the sort of level of entry, like some of the really difficult moves are now just like the standard, which is ridiculous.
We were at Magi Fest this year, and a couple because they have like a teen society or something. So a couple of the young bucks were out there doing stuff. This one kid was like showing me a thing. I was like, dude, it's amazing. I said, how long have you been doing magic? He's like, oh, like 8 months. And I'm like, what? Like some of the things that kids are coming out of the gate learning with like cardistry and stuff is ridiculous.
Absolute demons, man.
Yeah.
Like somebody needs to put them on a leash before they get better than us.
Yeah.
No, we need to lift them up. That's what we need to do with the next generation.
That's it.
Perfect. Yeah. You mentioned before we started that this one was a little bit of a difficult one to sort of hone in onto a single thing, but did you manage to finally settle on a favorite plot?
I mean, I kind of, the two I was tossing between were like a borrowed item to impossible location. I think is just I just think it's fun because there's so much in that space from when the thing vanishes to when it appears that you can play with. And that moment is like a great opportunity for a modern audience, because we don't experience not knowing. Like
Yeah.
we ask Claude or Chat or Google, like instantly we have a answer. It may not be the right answer, but we have a answer. And so I feel like that moment of like, here's a thing, it's yours, now it's gone. You don't know how it disappeared and you don't know where it is.
Yeah.
That in between moment of that before we find it is just such a cool thing. It like breaks people's brains in this really, really cool way of like, oh, because you see them experiencing this idea of wonder and curiosity, which is so rarely seen nowadays because we don't sit with not knowing. And
Yeah.
I dig that a lot. The other one I was playing with was confabulation. Like I think I've always liked I don't know if you'd consider that a plot, but or a genre. But
Yeah. I guess anything counts as a plot now that I've come to think of it. The very broad generalization. So in terms of confabulation, are we talking in the sense of Darren-esque confabulations where everything wraps itself together at the end, or are we talking like these things are predicted in this nice, neat little package?
yeah, I think that I wrote something down ahead of time,
Yeah.
and then all these things happened, and then I had wrote that ahead of time. Like I love that conceit, you know. Um, yeah,
Such a beautiful way to round off a performance and just tie off all those nice little openings that you've picked
yeah,
up, and then
yeah, I really dig it. And if you can, the challenge for me with the confabulation is that you're if you're not careful, like it telegraphs too quickly that we know what's going to happen, right?
yeah,
It's like a shadow box illusion. The minute you see a hand, you know there's a person in the box, right?
yeah,
Like for if you're going to dance for the next 3 minutes before that person appears, you've added no new information.
surprise.
Like I love my favorite is a confabulation that you didn't see coming, right? Something was introduced. I have a on one of my Enjoy the Ride show. I did a thing with a box, and inside the box was a gift, and so I was going to give this gift to somebody, and the whole conceit of it is, hey, there's something in this box, and you make it all about what's in the box, not the box itself, right? Like most magicians would hang a prediction chest and they go, watch the magic box.
Yeah.
Don't take your eyes off. And I think like we should forget about the box was ever there. It should all be about like I put something in here and what's in there is the special thing, right? Anyway, this was the rapid fire section.
do you do you think on a confabulation front, do you think there's a fine line between impossibility and believability?
Yeah.
Because as we say there, you could go to the nth degree with what you're predicting, but do you think there's a sort of balance between making it realistic that you could have predicted it without it being so impossible that it's just
Yeah.
weird?
Sometimes, well, and I also struggle too because my number one thing with everything is you want things to feel genuine. You want them to be genuine and real. Like if there's one thing we can offer a modern audience, like that is flooded with AI slop, right? Like give me something real. So when I struggle is when someone does a confab and it undoes the genuine moment we had together earlier, right? Um, so that's tough. And again, this again, not to pitch my own things, but the version I was hitting the wall with a confab that I wanted to do for this show, and my buddy Blake Voigt, who I know you've had on here, is a genius, and we brainstormed some things, and then I took some ideas, and um, I think this version is so it checked all the boxes for me because basically I am going to give somebody a gift, so I'm talking to them. I'm not going tossing a ball around, and if you could go anywhere, what would it be, and what would the
Yeah.
which is a great premise. It's not bad to do that, but I like that people are paying attention because you're just having a conversation with someone. Hey, who are you here with? Oh my gosh, you guys celebrating anything? Like, oh, it's your anniversary. Hey, if I could give you anything for your anniversary, what would it be? It would have to fit in this box. What would it be? and then they tell you the keys to a Tesla or whatever, right? And then the conceit is they come up on, or the deal is they come up on stage, they open the box, and it's one of my books, right? Like a gag. Like, is there any way I can know that? No, that's why I got you a copy of my book. But then the inscription in the book is, hey, thanks so much for coming. Share this with Jenny. Sorry, it's not the keys to a Tesla. To me, that it Blake is the guy who taught me, take a trick you struggle with and it has problems, right? Like some of the things we're talking about with Confab, fix those problems, and then you're gonna just have something that hits so much better. So yeah, for me, that was one. It was like, okay, how do you take a plot you like but it's problematic and fix the problems, and then now you have a thing that's just just becomes a nice piece.
Yeah, and as you said perfectly there, you're not then taking that genuine moment and making it part of the procedure, because then it just feels insincere. It feels like you've just had that conversation because you needed to have that conversation to fill in the gaps later on. Whereas in yours, it's very much, let's just have this fun conversation and then this cool thing happens at the end of it. And it's all been super nice, rather than it being like, yeah, that was great. So I'm clever. Bam, done.
It's Darren has done such a good job with this. It is a tight. Anytime you do anything that realms on that is in the realm of mentalism or mind reading or knowing what people or knowing what's going to happen, right? Essentially, the plot of Confab is I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah,
it's like, well, either you didn't know what was going to happen, or you know what's going to happen in the future, and you're not fixing any problems. Like, I'd be like, dude, why didn't you tell me my wife was going to leave me?
Morals are not in check. What are you playing at? But at least you told me what I had for breakfast this morning. Like, yeah, it's crazy, man.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to move on before we get sucked into a tangent of dealing with all of the problems in Magic. And the next one, another one that's going to be a difficult one to hone down to one thing. I will give you some honorable mentions as well. Do you have a particular favorite book? This could be something that you find nostalgic. It could be something that you refer to all the time and keep using. It could be your own book if you really want to go there.
Conjuring Anthology. This book by Steinmeier is one of my favorite books, and it's the one it's got bookmarks in it right now. It's the one I come back to most often. And I like this book just because it's plots of an individual performer on stage that are minimal props and is really connecting with the audience. Every plot involves interaction with the audience, but most of the time you're not bringing anyone on stage. And so I've just found this to be a great jumping off point for a lot of other ideas. It's just it's his articles he wrote for Magic Magazine for years. They just combined them all into one book, and it's great. So much good stuff in there.
That sounds sensational, and it looks like the kind of book that's going to be a pain in the ass to get my hands on. So thanks for that.
Yeah, it is for you. But
this is the problem with these podcasts. Come on, everybody's like, look at all this really cool stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get my hands on that, and it's like, no, you're not.
Oh,
it went out of print 45 years ago. They now cost £600 a piece. Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah, I have one book in the house that I should have brought it out here. Was written by Alexander, like the man who knows. And it's called let me get it right. It's called the Life and Mysteries of the Celebrated Dr. Q. And basically, Alexander wanted to document his show, but he wanted to still be able to do his show. And this guy was such a charlatan. What he did is he wrote out his entire show, but he wrote it with this story of he met this guy on his travels, and the guy told him his show. And of course, that guy was a charlatan. Alexander was a real medium. And he explained every trick in his show, and then still did the show saying, but I don't use those techniques to do it.
That's so smart. Just like, oh yeah, I'd never do that. That's so basic.
Oh, great. I love it.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Got my brain picking as to...
Yeah, I was reading David Charvet wrote a book on Alexander's life, and he referenced this book, and I'm like, I've never heard of that book. So I went on eBay. This was during COVID. I went on eBay, and I searched up the name, and there was a copy of it, and it was like $40. And I was like, no way. And I bought it. And then as I'm waiting for it to come, I'm reading the Charvet book, and he talked about how Claude Alexander signed all of his signatures in a green pen, which was weird back in the 20s, right? He had the green pen. And I open up the book, and it says "Best wishes, Claude Alexander." I got a signed copy of this book for like $40.
No way.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's so fun.
And again, like back in the day, nobody would have even taken note of that, because if he was like, this is just some random dude's routines, you'd be like, oh, well, we don't want to read that.
Yeah.
Maybe more magicians should do that. Pen names are a great way to get secrets out without people being like, this is yours, right?
Yeah, no. Didn't Max Maven do that? Like, because his name was like Phil Goldstein. Yeah. And so he would put out some things as Max Maven and some things as Phil Goldstein. Like,
people just writing it off as just like, it's just some other guy. Like, this absolute genius that we all know and love.
That's great. I love it.
Do you have a particular favorite performance? This could be something that you've seen in person. It could be something you've seen televised or on film. Is there anything that springs to mind as a particular favorite standout performance for you?
Okay. There's a caveat to this. My favorite performance is not going to sound special, because I'm sure anyone who grew up when I did, David Copperfield was the guy. And I also know right now a lot of different things happening with David Copperfield. So all of that noted. David Copperfield in the 90s, the Flying Tour. My dad took me to see it. I was like 12 years old, and I saw this guy who I had, laid on the carpet watching the TV, recording it on VHS, trying to pause to skip the commercials as a kid. And this guy came to town in LA. We went to the World Tour and we saw him, and he did every great thing that I had seen. Like, it was unbelievable. Like David Copperfield in the 90s, I think, is the best it's ever been. And then I think I'm not saying specifically about David, but I think that type of show, it peaked there, and every magician who does that kind of magic has been copying it ever since.
Yeah.
So most illusionists that you watch, it's like a bad parody act for, you're doing it. It's like 30 years old, So anyway, but then it was unbelievable. I mean, come on, the opening with the elevator coming down and you could see through it. Phil Collins rocking, "Find a way to my heart." The light. Come on, dude. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
so good.
That was probably my favorite live performance I saw. And my favorite on video performance I've ever seen, which you can still see, it's on YouTube, is Harry Anderson's Hello Sucker that he filmed at the Comedy Magic Club here in LA.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So it is getting added to my list of things to do immediately after this.
So good. I mean, it's so good. Like, he is, as far as like a comedy performer doing magic, ridiculous. He's the dude. He's the one. So awesome. Yeah, those would be like my favorite performances I've seen.
Better play for an hour, ring it down to just 2.
Well, you said favorite performance, and I still snuck 2 in there. So.
I mean, yeah, we'll allow it. We'll allow it this time. Next one takes a little bit of a turn, and this is something we could probably get hooked on for a long time. So I'll try and keep us on a leash. But what is your magic industry gripe? Is there anything that gets on your nerves, or you don't think belongs in the industry or the community, or it's something that maybe you think's overperformed or overdone?
Wow. Again, everyone's on their own journey, and I don't want to hold anyone to be where I'm at on my journey.
But
all that said, there's two that come to mind right away. Number one is stop trying to be interesting. Like, magicians, we have this weird thing. You see this a lot where guys get on stage and they almost have the energy as if they're a rock star that everybody knows, right? Like, most magicians parade on stage like their, name your favorite rock band frontman,
Yeah.
hello, what's up, everybody? Let's go. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then there's like always a false sincere moment toward the end, where it's like, I lived my dreams and now you can live your dreams. And I just think, to boil it down, stop trying to be interesting and get people to care about you, and instead care about other people and get interested in what they're about. And then if you write material that addresses what they're already interested in, they're going to like it. Right? Like, but most people are just trying to like get people to give a crap that, like, I wanted to invent something new that had never been. No one cares. People ask me all the time. No, they don't. They don't. So I just think, stop being interesting and get interested, and things get better. That's my one.
Pause the podcast there, write that down, action it, then come back. Is that right there? Corker. Absolute corker. I can't remember.
Where I just ramble, right?
Hey, if you're rambling with points like this, we'll allow it. These are absolutely incredible. I can't remember who it was. Somebody in a previous episode said, stop being Robbie Williams to 5 people.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. Well, here's my whole thing is like, also think about your audience. What did they walk in there today? Like, just statistically, someone's coming in your audience. They just found out they're getting a divorce. Another guy's terrified he's going to lose his job. Someone else just found out like their family member's sick and ill, right? What do they need? They need an escape. They need to laugh. They need to feel better about themselves, right? What they don't need to do is have someone get up there and like have an ego trip for an hour, like serving anybody. And if what you want is attention and applause, give them something that makes their life better, and you'll get attention and applause.
100%. Like, you can feel it when you sit down to watch a show and you get hit with 100% from the beginning, and you're like, "Oh, this is a bit much." Like, really did.
Years ago, I got called on that by not even a magician. It was a friend in a corporate event that I was doing, and he was like, "Listen, man, like, I know you're used to like doing theaters or whatever. You roll out here though." He's like, "You gotta think, these guys were at the bar till 2 a.m. This is a 9 a.m. on a Tuesday session. You gotta start where their energy is, and then like invite them to join you." Yeah. And that was like, oh my gosh, what a game changer, But yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Great banger after banger advice here. I can already tell this is going to be a sensational episode. We're going to try and hone in on what has made you today, and we're going to look at who your influences. Let's go with top 5. I know, again, we could talk for an eternity about the people that have influenced us. If you had 5 people that you think have sort of been most influential, who would those people be? And it doesn't necessarily have to be magicians. It could be anyone, comedians, actors, inspiration in general.
Oh my gosh, that just opened it up crazy more.
Sorry.
No. I mean, magician wise, I just have to go with as a kid. Like, because right now, I mean, there's tons of people we could talk about. Most of them have become like friends, but like people when I was a kid that influenced me. Harry Anderson out the gate. Like, that was the dude. I want to do that kind of act. Harry Blackstone, which is an act I would never do, but like that classic, like kind of the last guy doing the golden age of magic stuff. I got to see him when I was a kid, and that was wild. Mark Kalin had a show with Hobson and Kalin's wife Ginger, and they did a show called Carnival of Wonders that to this day is the best magic show I've ever seen. And then Matt King. Dude, Matt King, come on, dude. Like, just undeniably funny as a magician. Like, just great. Those are probably, like, as a kid, the most influential magicians. And then a lot of comedy, man. I love comedians. So, and everyone from, like, I mean, shoot, like, when I was a kid, it was like everyone from like watching old videos of Carlin and Pryor to, you know, Chris Rock. You can probably tell my magic's influenced by Chris Rock.
It's so interesting to ask people their influences and then go, "Oh yeah, of course." Like you can just see how that person's been like shaped and molded by the people that they're
Yeah,
influenced by.
no, it's funny, man. I consume all comedy, so like, yeah, a lot of times people will be like, "Oh, you work mostly clean," and yet like you watch like, every comedy thing that comes out. Yeah, people that as a kid, I always loved when people could make you genuinely laugh. I think it's been talked about to no end with magic, but I feel like 15 years ago, everybody just started saying, "Oh, I'm a comedy magician." And it was
Yeah.
like, just because you told a joke someone else wrote doesn't make you a comedian, like, and so I love when people can take things we all relate to and say them in a way that make us go, oh my gosh, I've lived that and I've never said it out loud.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I don't know, man. There's a crazy amount of influences. Billy McComb, when I was a junior at the Magic Castle, Billy McComb was still kicking, and he would roll in. He'd just watch our shows, and he'd just give you advice. And he was the first guy I remember in Magic that I just went like, this guy has no agenda other than like he's not trying to like make a name for himself. He's Billy McComb, like he's the dude already back then, and uh he was just kind. I was like, oh, this guy's just a nice dude who also is really good at magic and very funny. So, yeah, the influences.
I would never ever wish my life away because life is very precious, but I'm so envious when people are like, I got to live through these times with these people and got
Oh
to
my
see
god,
this in person. And I'm like, man, if I only I was 10 years older.
I know,
But
I know. I think about that when guys 10 years older than me, man, because
yeah,
it's like they're like, oh man, yeah, all you hear about. Oh, Vernon used to sit at the table with us. I'm like, what? That's
yeah,
crazy.
it's absurd. And I feel like, obviously, I mean, my generation and generations going forward will never be able to appreciate those sort of interactions because now everything is documented online. Everything you can go back and watch it if you weren't there in person. Whereas those times in the past where you had to be there to see it or you did not see it, like I
Yeah,
envy those times, man.
but you know what I will say too, like I think for me there's got to be a balance. Like I think about all the people I got to see at the castle when I was a kid.
Yeah,
There's no footage of it. Like people didn't film their acts. I think there's something beautiful that we are starting to document things because like some of the greatest magicians I've ever seen, you can't find and you can't see. And people are like, who are your favorite performers? It's like if I told you, you wouldn't know him. It's like a guy I saw, 10 years ago in this room in LA that never put anything out. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think there's a balance there of like, it is fun that there's like special moments that aren't documented, but I also think some of this we need to freaking document, like put
Yeah,
it there. So,
100%. There's some absolute underground demons.
yeah,
Like you mentioned earlier, when you rock up the conventions and you got
yeah,
people coming up to you and showing you stuff that you just like, I did not know that was physically possible with a deck of cards or whatever. Like
yeah,
absurd, but
yeah.
if they want to stay underground, fair plays to them. But
I know.
my goodness, share that knowledge because it is crazy.
Right. Well, yeah, man, like I think about like how, I was in bands a lot as a kid, and like we had a really good underground like music scene here in LA. And so there'd literally be shows happening Wednesday to Sunday night every week everywhere. And so what was the worst is when you'd have this band that you saw this band, they were so great. And then you try to tell somebody about them but there's like they don't have an album. It's like how do I find that band?
Yeah,
And I think that's where it is with most magicians. It's like most amazing magicians are like a really great band that never put out a record. So it's like even if I want to tell people about you, what am I supposed to tell them? Like, you wait till they come to your corporate event, you know? Like,
yes, very much like look at what you could have won.
yeah, yeah, man. That's interesting. And then sometimes
Incredible.
somebody documents something, you're like, let it cook a little longer.
Yeah, that should not have been put on the internet yet.
Oh
Take it
my God.
off. Go again.
I've filmed so many things that no one will ever see that I thought were so good, and and I'm like, maybe not now.
You watch it back in hindsight, and you're like, eh,
Oh man,
5 years. Give me 5 years.
time I was practicing, the hoop and glass trick, the juggling trick.
Yeah.
So years ago, I got one of those, and I was like, I'm gonna learn this trick. And I practiced out here in my little tough shed in the backyard for like a month, so like finally got it, pretty decent. So then I'm like, I'm gonna go in the living room. Family's hanging out in the living room. I'm gonna go just kind of practice in there and just see if any of them say anything. So I'm just off in the corner. My wife's watching TV. My daughter's like reading a book. I'm doing the little thing. I'm not saying anything. We're just hanging out. I'm just sitting there doing it. And for like 5 minutes, nobody said anything. And then my daughter goes, Dad, what's supposed to be happening right now over there? And my wife, without skipping a beat, goes, he's going to think people want to watch him do that. And I never did it again.
Family have a real way of humbling you quick, man.
Yeah.
Like, my goodness, some things that you practice for an eternity. Like, I've recently got into juggling and stuff. And you start doing it, and you're like, yeah, this is great. And then somebody else watches it, and they go, and?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Well,
Months, if not years, wasted, but thanks for that.
I know. I think especially with juggling, it's like people don't know until they try it how hard it is, right? And because juggling suffers from this thing where it's like you make it look so easy. I don't know. Hard. I've never tried. It's like when you're at a party and you get stuck talking to the guy who's like a computer coder, and he's like, "Oh, this week we did a lot, with the hybrid system going to the fort," and you're like, I don't even know the language you're speaking to know if this is interesting. I think that's sometimes with what we do. It's like people just don't know.
Zero concept.
Yeah, you got to show them, I guess, somehow.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to delve a little more deep into you as a performer and what you do so incredibly well. The first one being, obviously, you are dubbed the storytelling magician. So how can people start to think more about storytelling and implementing it into their magic? And what is the difference between storytelling that feels like just decoration and storytelling that is truly meaningful and helps the magic moment and serves the magic moment rather than it just being an accompaniment to that?
Yeah, so good. So two things to keep in mind right away. Number one, the truth is always more interesting than anything you can make up. The truth is always better. It will connect to people because even though you're sharing something that happened to you that didn't happen to everyone else, there's universal experiences we all have, right? So if you can tell a personal story that is unique to you and interesting, but then it has an application that we can all walk away with because everybody feels, depression or the need for love or acceptance or joy or whatever it is, like you can land it on a plane that's about them, not about you. That's like peak story right there. Yeah, so the truth is always more interesting than anything you make up. And I always think like going back to who's in the audience, who's in the chair, who's the person that's watching you, and what do you want them to leave with? I think that I know that for myself, for years, I used to just go, what tricks do I want to do in the show? And the show was a collection of the tricks or the things I wanted to do. And then I started going like, okay, what do I want people to experience after they've been in a room with me, right? And I used to say, I hope people leave and they go, man, I'd like to have a beer with that guy, right? I'd like to get a drink with that guy. That's what I wanted them to think if the show went well. And then now I say that if the show goes well, when people leave, they go, oh, I feel like I just did. Like they get the same feeling. Like after you left a hang with someone and you're like, dude, that was great. That was a great time, right? And then you think, what do I need to do so that people feel that, right? And my whole thing is I want people to laugh like crazy. I want them to be amazed by the magic. I want them to experience wonder because it's a thing we don't get a lot anymore. And I want them to leave and go, I should probably call my dad. For me, that's not for everyone, but like that's the vibe I'm going for. And so then you go, what stories do I need to tell that will give them that experience? Like if they hear those stories, that's going to lead them there. And then you go, what trick justifies me telling that story? So that's my move. Is I keep on my phone. I have 3 notes at all times. I have ideas for jokes that I think are funny, that are not really jokes. It's just a funny thing that happened or an interesting thought. I have magic plots or tricks that I like uh, the flexible mirror, like the needle through the mirror. It was on a thing that was on my list for years and years and years. Just any, the torn and restored photo, the Sean Farquhar thing, that thing on my list for years. And then I have a list of stories, personal stories, like moments from my life that come to mind time and time again that might be interesting to tell. And when I sit down to write a new routine, I don't start with a trick ever. I start with what's a story that will connect with people. And then I go, what trick will let me tell that? So, like, I'll give you an example. We were at my mom's house recently. This is maybe a year ago now. And my mom goes, "Hey, I found your old photos from school." And she brings out like the old envelope with the school photos with like a little window peeking out. And the top half is like the analog form where you would write what you wanted. And she goes, "Look, I messed up." And my mom checked the box to the right instead of the left, which means instead of getting wallet size photos, she bought like the big 500. And instead of getting 10 copies, she bought 100 copies. Right. That was a thing that happened that was just funny. And I was like, oh, if I could tell that on stage, what else can I tell that has to do not with me, but with them? Right.
Yeah.
I can talk about the anxiety you felt as a kid when you had to get your picture taken. Right. I can talk about the pressure the parents felt because they had to pick, when I grew up, it wasn't digital photography. They had to pick how many they wanted before they even saw if it's a photo. That's a funny thing, right? I could talk about how my kids don't relate to it. My kids have only ever had digital photography. So then I'm like, oh, well, what does that mean? Well, if that's true, what else is true? I grew up before digital photography. I also grew up before empathy, right? It was like, no, so you see how you take just an interesting moment, you start to tease it out. If this is true, what else is true? And you can create these things that are like, oh, we experience these things. And then I go, great, I got a lot of stuff there that could be fun for a routine. What's a story or what's a trick that would make sense that I'm telling all those things? And then I remembered Sean Farquhar's Torn to Pieces, it's like a mismade photo. And I went, what if I did that with my school photo, right? So then I started taking all of those story ideas, putting them with that trick, and then stuff just starts to write itself. Like my favorite line in that routine is I tear the photo in half, and it's like the top half of this kid's photo, the bottom half, and it's all ripped. And I start dying laughing, and I go, oh my gosh, it looks like a Netflix documentary. And I put it like, like, so I start with what's a story I want to tell. Not just because I want to tell it, but because it's a way I can connect with the audience and I can get them. They like it, not because it's about me. They like it because it's about them, because I'm bringing up something that they're immediately going, oh my gosh, I felt that way. I thought that way. I experienced that thing. And they're starting to get these like nostalgic good vibes, right? And then I tear a photo in half and put it back together. So I just think like, what is it that you want them to feel? And then what do you need to do or say or create so they can feel that, and write your show backwards that way. And then you don't go like, well, I'll do the floating table and I'll do the boat drama, and, like those things.
Horseshoe reasoning.
Yeah, like those can be great routines, but they should be a thing that adds to what you're trying to create, not just I spent $3,000 on this prop, so I got to use it.
How do you find a balance between it being generalized enough for everybody to be like, I understand this, but specific enough for people to be like, wow, he's talking to me? How do you find a balance between those two?
I think when someone tells a story, you only want to know, why are you telling me this? Like, is there a point? And when are you going to get to the point, right? So
second one being the most important.
Yeah, so I think you got to analyze, what is it? Is the thing you want to say, is it going to matter to them? And then you go, why does it matter to them, right? And so like that school picture thing, I found these larger subjects around like, the pressure you feel or the family dynamic or how as society we don't really have empathy anymore. Like those are big things that have nothing.
Yeah.
I got to those points because I started with what did it feel like to be in that moment that the story was happening. But then you land the plane on the feeling, on the thing that is like not general. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? I don't know if that
Yes.
makes sense at all, but like yeah, I guess you balance it out to where you go like, is this story moving the ball forward for what I want people to experience, or is it just a story I wanted to tell?
Yeah.
And if it's a story where the attention stays on you, it's probably not a great story, right? Like if
100%.
if the story is, um, I always wanted to do magic, and that was my big dream, and then I followed my dreams, and now I'm doing magic, and you should follow your dreams.
Yeah.
It's a terrible story, and it's the plot line of 90% of magic, right?
Yep.
Because nobody can relate to dreaming about doing magic, So, but
Yeah.
if the goal was, I want people to follow their dreams, what are people dreaming about, right? Like, what are some plot lines you could put in that would hit that? Hey, money's a big thing. People worry about money. How could you do a routine that you can laugh about, but also bring up people's stress around money, right? What people want to make sure their family's taken care of. How can you tell a story where it's a story about family taking care of family, but where you're not the hero, where someone took care of you? Like,
Yeah.
just anything you can do to take the spotlight off yourself and put it on someone else, whether it's the audience or like someone else who played a big part of your life, those things make it feel that we connect to them better because it's not just someone talking about themselves.
Yeah. 100%. It's why I enjoy creating magic for non-magic purposes, like creating for theaters and things like that, because then you're creating magical moments that drive a story forward or serve a purpose rather
Yeah,
than just magic for the sake of magic.
that's it. That's it, man. And in a theater show, that's like you might go, "Oh, this would be so cool, this effect," and you start playing with it, and then you go, like, it takes away from the story.
Yeah.
If people go, "Why are we doing this?" Right? Why are you telling me this, or why are we doing this? It needs to get edited out.
Yeah.
Like,
Game over.
yeah, just what is the goal? What is the ultimate goal? And if anything in your show doesn't serve that ultimate goal, you should take it out. I don't know.
Pause. Write it down. Action it. Come back. Going to be a whole lot of this in this episode. Incredible.
I mean, this is again. I mean, if we go back to magic gripes, one of the beautiful things about magic is that people put out magic and they put out full routines, and I do this too. Like I got a new
Yeah.
routine coming out soon. The the problem I think is because we kind of package these full experiences, which should be an example of, hey, here's something you can do, here's an effect you can do, and here's how I use it,
Yeah.
right? That should be a launch point to, hey, what do you want to do with it? You know what I mean? But most of us, we just get the routine, we say the words that come with the routine, and then it doesn't. It's just void of meaning and connection and all of that. So I think that's one of the challenges is that magic is so blessed by having people give us their ideas, which is wonderful, like putting out these wonderful ideas. But if we stop there, if we don't go like, how does this actually fit? You know, and I feel like magic routines and ideas are like clothes. Like you can see it on the rack and you go like, that looks great. And then you put it on, and you go like, this just doesn't feel like.
Yeah.
And I think some of us, we get it off the rack, we put it on, and we never question, does this fit my show, my persona, who I am?
Yeah.
Like you have family performers doing hug kill. It's like that doesn't fit you at all.
Yeah.
So I think we need to just sometimes just take a little step further and go like, okay, is this really for me? And also be willing to say sometimes you're going to spend money on something, put it in your show, and it doesn't fit. Who cares that you spent the money on it? Like it will lose you money to keep doing that. So don't just go like, oh well, I got this, I should use it.
And again, it makes it even more difficult when the effects are good and they're getting great responses from the audience, but don't necessarily serve the purpose and the story that you're going for.
That's it. Oh man, that's so good. Because even with humor, like I've watched people who are like, man, I killed out there. Yeah, but did it achieve what you wanted? Because like there are some jokes or premises that people will always laugh at. That doesn't mean it's a good laugh, right? And are they laughing with you? Or are they laughing at you? Is this laugh because they're mocking somebody, or is this laugh because they relate to it? Like, and just again, auditing your act and going like, is the thing I set out to do really what the audience is experiencing?
Yeah.
I think that most of us have blinders on and we just go like, they're clearly, I saw so and so do this. Now when I do it, they're experiencing what I experienced, and probably not.
Yeah.
You know, if you do a plot similar to something Mac does in his show, my guess is the audience isn't leaving your show feeling the way you left seeing Mac's show, because everything he does is a choice and intentional, and there's a reason behind it. And so that doesn't mean you can't have it. You just got to put a little more thought into it.
Nobody else is pulling off the code of invisibility, let's be honest. This is not happening.
Out there trying to copy it.
Welcome to the magic industry. You're very much a big advocate for filming your own special and putting it out to the world. Why do you think other people should look to potentially putting out specials and documenting their full performances?
I think not everybody needs to. I think that it depends on what you're wanting to do, right? What's your goal? Right now, especially, if it's from a business standpoint, years ago it used to be you make a demo video, you make a 3-minute demo video, and it's flashing. It's like, you know, I'd hire someone with a voice like you, Corey, and like I'd be like, Taylor Hughes has performed here, right. And most people, that's how they promote their magic show, is like this 3-minute flashy video. But I think, how do I find everything I like now? I usually am scrolling Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, and I go, oh, that's great. And then I go look to see what else they put out. And if I like it, then I'm going to follow it, right? 80% of my leads don't come through my website. They don't come through paid ads, which I do all that stuff. They don't, SEO, all that stuff. 80% of my leads come from somebody seeing a clip on Instagram or YouTube and reaching out and going, hey, do you do this for this kind of event? So I just think if you want to work and you want, or if you just, even if it's not about your finances and work, if it's about like, hey, I love this as an art and I want to get my art out there for people to see, you have to put something out for people to follow, right? And if you put out one great thing, it's not enough, because if I fall in love with that, I'm immediately going to go and see, is there more stuff to watch?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like a full show, like a special, but I'm a huge advocate of like, if you want to share your magic with the world, there's never been a better or easier time to just put things out. And especially now, like we are past the, it all being about followers and all that, because like followers don't see your content. Like the algorithm is all interest based now. And so it's perfect for magicians. People who like magic, the algorithm is going to feed them great magic. So I just think if you've got something great that you want to share with people, for too long I had friends really frustrated, and myself frustrated too, of like, oh, I feel like in my market or my industry, like I'm this great secret that's being kept. And it's like there's no such thing as a best kept secret. Like there's taco stands in my neighborhood that have no sign that say they sell tacos, and there's a line wrapped around the block, because if something's great, people talk about it, right? And so I'm a huge advocate of like, if you're doing something you think the world should see, nobody's going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, can we give you a TV special? Just make one.
Yeah. And we're in the day and age where you can. Like, you get a few buddies, you get a few camera equipment, somebody to edit it. I mean, there's the likes of Fiverr now, where you can just hire anybody to do absolutely anything for next to nothing. And everything's at your fingertips.
Yeah. I had a buddy, it was 2019, I was sitting in Nashville, and I was having lunch with a friend. He's like a sound engineer and does he does a lot of like on the road, backstage stuff for folks. And we're just catching up, having breakfast, and he goes, "Hey, what's something you've always wanted to do but you haven't done?" And I said, "Oh, I want to make a comedy magic special." And he listened politely as I told him, like, I'm like, "Oh, like Harry Anderson did back in the day, and it'll be like this and this." And he just listened, and I was done talking, and he goes, "You told me that same story a year ago. What are you gonna
Yeah.
do?" And he took out his phone, and he's like, "When are you gonna do it?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "When do you have time?" And I'm like, and I gave him some dates that I was next time I was available. And he bought a ticket on Delta, and he's like, "I'm flying to LA. I will be there that whole week. Now you have to do it." And that's why I have a special. That's why I made my first special, And so it wasn't some big, like, I booked a deal with Amazon and they gave me money up front. It was like I made a thing, and then I figured out step by step what you do. But it was because a buddy was just like, "Yeah, I'll help you. We'll figure it out." And it reminded me that, like, oh, everyone who's doing anything just decided to do it.
Yeah.
And then, the next year I wrote a book. Then we made another special. I wrote another book. Like, you just if you take one big idea and you work on it for a whole year, that seems exhausting, right?
Yeah.
But 5 or 6 years, you have like this little pile of cool things you've made, and now all of a sudden you're someone who makes cool things. It sounds so simple, but it is in essence, it is kind of so simple. It's just like, make the stuff you want to exist, and then it will
Yeah.
be.
100%. And without getting soppy and mushy, it's so cool that as humans we can just be like, I'm gonna help you achieve that really cool thing that you want to do.
That's
And
it.
just being able to like have the power to be like, let's fucking do it is
Yeah,
so cool.
that's it, man. That's it. Like,
And
and
there
I
should be more of that in the world.
well, I mean, the reality is, look, we're not, like you said, without being soppy and mushy. We're not here saying life isn't hard and things aren't challenging.
Yeah.
And shoot, I spent a shit ton of money doing this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's no investment of time or energy or resource or sacrifice. But I do think that for too many years, I would say, oh, see things I wish were different. And then I'd sit around with buddies and we'd have a drink and we'd complain about how things aren't better or we're not getting opportunities. And it's like, well, you can just decide that you want that thing to be like, there are no gatekeepers. Like, this sounds like motivational guru-y crap. It's so true. Everybody who is doing anything just decided they were going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's all make believe. Nobody's going up to a guy who's a plumber and going, "Well, how did you get into that industry? How did you break in?" Freaking just decided he wanted to be a plumber, went and took the course, whatever, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but for some reason in entertainment, we believe that there's like these like, the industry gods who will pluck you out and choose you and allow you. No, they're not.
Yeah.
Nobody told McBride he could have a school. He just made a school. It's not,
Easy as that.
it's not credentialed.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. And again, we put all of our resources in sitting and complaining about the things that we kind of can't do instead of just doing it. Like, if we applied as much time as we do to complaining about said thing, you'd probably be doing it 10 times over.
That's it. That's it, man. I'm telling you, like,
I mean, it's easy to say that. Actioning it, different story. But
yeah, but it's just, I mean, it's like anything that's tough, right? Like,
Yeah.
like yesterday, I was helping my father-in-law build a shed like this. This is a shed in my backyard, right?
No way.
Friggin' shed. So this is a tough shed. This is a 8-foot by 12-foot shed that I bought on Costco, and it came in a pallet, and we built it, right? But it was because for years I was like, I wish I could have an office, but like, to rent an office space in downtown here is so expensive. I'm like, I'll never be able to afford that. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then I went like, oh, I got a little spot where you could park a car. We can build a little office there. And it was like for like what I would pay for 1 month's rent at an office. We built this thing that has now been my office for 9 years, Like, yeah, you got to do some labor, and yeah, you got to watch some YouTube videos, and yeah, you're going to be frustrated and want to give up 4 or 5 times. But at the end of the day, the thing got done. And also, like, my buddy, I had a buddy he's done a lot of really cool stuff, and he told me done is better than good. I said, what are you talking about? He said, there's 3 Beverly Hills Chihuahua movies. You know the movie with the dog? 3 of them got made. 3 of those got made, not because it was great, but because it got done. And I think there's so many magicians with these big ideas of what we want to do, but just put in some effort, man. And don't be so hard on yourself that it has to be perfect. Like, perfection is, you're comparing yourself to something that someone else knows they made up. Like,
and it's so much more satisfying at the end as well when you've done it yourself. Like, as you say, you could have just paid for an office and you would have had an office. But the fact that, 1, you got to spend time with your family whilst making that, and 2, you actually constructed it with your own hands, is so much more satisfying at the end of it than just sitting in a room that serves its purpose.
That's it. And find, like you said, with your family, like, you get the people close to you and go, look, this isn't forever, but I'm working for the next month. I'm working on this project, and I'm going to be real locked in on it. And let's make it a fun game of how we're going to do it. My first book, I sat out here for 3 hours from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. because I was like, when's the time where no one's needing me? I'll sleep less for a couple, 6 weeks or whatever. And every day I'm going to write 1,500 words. And if I can't write 1,500 words, I just have to sit there for 3 hours. And if I write 1,500 words in 2 hours, I can get up early, right? But like, no judgment, just every day. And you get your family in on it, and they know, hey, Dad's writing a book for right now. And it's weird and tough for a little bit, and then something exists. That thing will exist forever, I think it's cool that there's so many resources for us to do the things that we always wanted to do, but no one else is thinking about nobody else is waking up going like, oh, what is Corey's dream and how can I make that happen?
Yeah, nobody's going to do it for you. So
yeah, there's a lot of people that will help you if you go, I'm going to do this, but you got to be able to go, like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Pause. Write it down. Action it.
I thought you were just going like, pause. We're going to edit all this out.
Yeah, that knowledge is too good. I'm gonna keep that for myself. So we're going to cut that out, put it in a separate video. That's going to go behind a paywall, and we'll allow the people that are willing to pay for it.
So somebody is right now listening going, but he never explained the angle separation.
Yeah, but what about that table variation? My goodness, methods, man. Methods. Oh, don't even get me started. As I mentioned in season 1, there are tons of recommendations from the guests of new tricks, new books, new theories, new ideas that I always want to go back and delve into even more. And in order to do so, I need to buy those products. And where am I going to buy them from? MAGICBOX. That is the obvious answer to this. They have everything that I could possibly need and the expert knowledge to give me the assistance that I need to find exactly what I'm after. And using code PATCT at checkout, you can grab yourself 10% off your order. That's code PATCT to grab 10% off. On with the episode. Obviously, we've mentioned there that you've done now 2 magic specials and a comedy special. We're going to jump into our annotated Erdney segment, in which we're going to take a look at you in a performance. It's going to be from your second magic special. This is a clip that went incredibly viral. People at home might have seen this before. If they haven't seen it before, we're going to quickly watch it now, and then we'll discuss afterwards how this sort of came about, how the storytelling grew around this routine, and we'll delve into a little bit more.
Life changes when you become a grown-up. When you're a kid, it's easy to wonder. When you're a grown-up, you have responsibilities, right? But when you're a kid, it was easy to wonder. So right now, all across the room, I would like everybody to try to remember what it was like when you were real little. Some of you don't have to go too far. For the rest of us, I want you to think about being a little kid. Because when you're a little kid, wonder is easy. It comes naturally. Wonder is your job. And so every day is full of possibilities, and the world is full of whimsy because, well, mostly because when you're a kid, this is how empty your schedule is. So every day is full of amazing opportunities. But if you're like me, at a certain point, life gets pretty hectic. And if you're like me, I'm gonna guess it probably happened around age 5. Because at age 5, you go to school, and school is fun because you make friends, but school is hard because they give you homework. And you start to learn a few things, and those things turn into a job. Maybe that job becomes a career someday, and before you know it, you've learned quite a few things. You've met quite a few people. Maybe you find someone or a group of people you want to spend your time with, and your life is looking pretty great. But it's looking pretty full. You see, one thing grown-ups are always good at is remembering to fill our calendars. And one thing we're terrible at is leaving enough room for wonder. But not you all. You're different. I can tell. Because you're watching a grown man play with a puzzle. And anyone who's willing to take that kind of approach to life is willing to be okay with not having it all figured out. And that's all I ask of you tonight. It's not going to take much effort, just a little shift in your perspective. But if you're willing to play, I promise you, it will be fun. But most importantly, you will find that in the midst of all that great stuff, it is still quite possible to leave yourself just enough room for wonder. And if you're willing to go on the journey with me tonight, well, then I'm going to try to show you some things that before tonight maybe seemed impossible. So,
Cool.
Now, without blowing too much smoke up your ass, what an absolute masterclass in storytelling, man. Like, the addressing of the audience, like, you feel like you're having a one-on-one conversation. It feels like this guy's super warm. I want to hear everything he says. I can relate to it. I feel the emotion that he's sending across. And as you mentioned halfway through that routine, they're watching a grown man play with a puzzle.
Right.
Yet you can somehow take what is essentially a super simple concept and make such a beautiful and meaningful piece around it. So how did you come about this routine?
It's so nice of you to say that, because my best buddy, Mark James, teases me all the time. He's like, oh, you're going to go out there and do your encouraging thing. He's like,
yeah, that damn motivational stuff.
Eat you alive.
No, I'm not that mean. I'm not that mean.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
It's not a problem at all. How did this piece come about? Like, why specifically this routine? And again, like you mentioned earlier when you were talking about building storytelling, I assume the story came first and then you found the bit that fit it perfectly. And this routine seems to fit like a puzzle piece. Like, everything just falls into place so beautifully.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. I mean, this there was a routine prior to this that kind of piggybacked that made this one come out. So in my first special, I do a routine with a Rubik's Cube that matches one that's in a bottle. There was a routine I put out with David Stryker through Vanishing Ink called the Cuban Bottle Project. But that all came about because I saw, well, first of all, it came about because I hated Rubik's Cube magic for one reason. Not for the reason that most old guys are going like, oh, what another Rubik's Cube magic, and then they do the 400th card trick you've seen at the convention and don't care about it. But my struggle with Rubik's Cube magic was it was all about the skill of the performer, right? Yeah. So they'd bring it out and then they would solve it in like 10 seconds, and then they would try to get you to care that you did anything magical happened with it.
Yeah.
When someone starts a close-up set with cardistry and the cards are defying gravity and it's the most amazing thing you've ever seen, and then they try to get you to care about an ambitious where one card moves. It's like you just made 52 cards defy gravity, right?
Yeah.
So I never was doing Rubik's Cube magic because of that. And then I came across this thought of your life is not a puzzle to be solved, it's a mystery to be enjoyed. Like, I had that thought one day and I went, that's a good thought. Like, that's an ending to a routine. Your life is not a puzzle to be solved, it's a mystery to be enjoyed. How can I end a routine with that? And I worked backwards and I went, well, what's the best selling puzzle of all time? a Rubik's Cube. Oh, well, how do I fix the problem with a Rubik's Cube magic? My buddy David had made this Rubik's Cube in a bottle, like an impossible bottle, and I went like, oh, that's a trick. Because the audience knows there's nothing as a performer you can do to mess with that cube in a bottle. Now, if I solve it and it matches that, it still puts all the energy on me.
Yeah.
I need the audience mix it up. Now it's not look at what I can do. It's look at what just happened in this room because of all of us. That, again, not for everybody, but that checks the boxes of the feeling I want people to leave with is like the world is amazing and like beautiful stuff still exists even in the midst of all the crap, right? So that routine was like a big hit for me and it was a big part of my first special. So then I was thinking, how can I like kind of carry that forward? Like, because it is a thing. People related to this idea of like life is not a puzzle to be solved, it's a mystery to be enjoyed. And I had always liked and had the puzzle of life on my list as a possibility. But there were some things I didn't like about it. Like, I mean, the puzzle of life, the original one, which is a great routine, it's more magical. It's, you know, you're hiding a piece, you're adding 2 extra ones. You start with the whole puzzle built, then you take it apart, then you put it together, then you take it apart, then you put it together. And it had kind of a thoughtful life is about all the different areas of life thing, right? But it was the version I saw, it kind of ended on the negative. It was like, and then life gets more complicated and more complicated, and then that was it. But like, there's still room for all that, right? And I went like, there's got to be something bigger than just that life is tough. Like we relate.
Yeah, we know that shit.
Yeah, we relate to life as tough. Start with that. That's the concept that we start with. What do we want to end with? And then I saw this version of the puzzle that works differently than the other one. And I went like, what if we just simplify it? What if the puzzle wasn't there to start with? And then it's not about this prop that does an interesting thing. It's like, as you're telling a story and you're adding the pieces, we're connecting with those pieces being part of it. And I just, when I first saw that prop, I was like, oh, that centerpiece really stands out, like that white square. And I went, what if you just made it all about that white square? Like, what does that white square represent? Because that's the one that fits in later, right? Yeah. So anyway, I just started messing with all that stuff. And then, you know, thinking like, when did we first stop wondering? Well, when we're kids, we wondered. It's easy. Let's start with that concept. Everyone can remember being a kid and like every tree was like a ladder you were going to climb, right? And every blanket is going to become a fort in the living room. Like, these are things that we all relate to. Start with the relatable thing. Then the audience will lean in and go like, yeah, I'm in, I get it. I felt that way. And I want to feel that way again. And then go like, here's why we don't feel that way. Here's how we can feel that way. And in the end, they're not applauding because it's a great trick. It's a good trick.
Yeah.
And some people are like, how did he fit that puzzle piece in there? But the comments I get off that are all about the story and the thing that, you know, all about how that helped somebody or encouraged them, or they were having a rough day.
Yeah.
I got to do the trick I wanted to do, but because it made them feel better about the situation they were in. You know what I mean? So it's just a different way to go about it. I will tell you this too, because some people go like, oh, you're so lucky you put that video on it. I went crazy. I filmed my second special. We spent crazy amounts of money doing it. You know, we did it at this theater in Nashville. I'm like, the first one went great. This one's going to go even better. First one was on Amazon. I'm going to put this one on YouTube. I just want as many people to see it as can.
Yeah.
The first one came out during COVID when everyone's sitting at home. There's not a lot going on. So it's like, yeah, a lot of people watched it, right? This one, I posted it. It got like 800 views, which is a good amount of views, but not for a special that you put out and you're hoping lots of people watch a bunch of money on. So I was bummed out. And one day I was sitting at the airport getting ready to go on a flight. And I was like, I'll just clip out a clip. And I just picked that. That's not my favorite routine from the show. I don't know why that one went crazy the way it did, but I just quickly did this little edit, posted it, got on a plane, and when I landed, it had 1 million views. And I was like, what the heck? And now, I mean, that has like, it's got over 50 million views on my page. Every day I get messages of people sending me someone else reacting to it that has
Yeah.
more. I mean, it's been shared over like 200 million times. It's stupid. But again, it's not because it's the best magic trick you've ever seen. And it's not because it's about me. Like most people don't even know who I am that see it, but they go like, golly, I connected with this story. So
Yeah.
I just think storytelling is the best way that you can connect with people. You know, make your magic about more than magic, and then you get to do magic.
100%. Luke Othland said he often uses tricks as a vehicle to get to a joke. And I
Yeah.
think this is very much the trick becoming the vehicle to get to the point in the story that you're trying to make. And yeah, it's I mean, I understand why it went crazy viral because it's super relatable, super fun, like it's incredible. But as you say, like nothing happens by accident. Had you not have clipped that, then it wouldn't have happened. Had you not have put in that work, had you not have filmed the special, had you not have spent the money, had the friend not have said I'm coming over to film said special and blocking out that time, like none of this is just luck or by accident. Sure, things might have happened along the way that could be seen as lucky, but
Yeah.
my God, are you putting in the work to get there in the first place? And it's always the case that when something pays off, people go, he's just a lucky guy or an overnight success, but you don't see the unearthly amount of time that's gone into it and the unearthly amount of money that's gone into it as well before.
I will say too, though, like, um, yeah, people don't see. I think this is a good thing, right? People don't see the stuff that doesn't work.
Yeah.
There are some brilliant performers right now who are so scared to post video because they're like, what if nobody watches it? If nobody watches it, nobody saw that nobody watched it.
Yeah.
Do you understand that? Like, if I see a clip and it's got 60 views, I think they must have just posted this clip, right? Like, if nobody sees it, nobody knows no one saw it. So, like,
Yeah.
it's no shame. My first special, I did a gypsy thread routine at the end of the show where I talked about my grandmother because I wanted to do a challenge. Can I do a trick that everyone's done? Can I talk about my grandparents and still have it be good? Like, I feel like it checks some boxes, but
Yeah.
I took that footage that we had spent $30,000 filming the first special. I took the clip from that and I posted it, and it got like 60 views. Like nobody watched it, and I was like, "What the heck?" I posted on Instagram, no reaction. And this is after the puzzle video. So then I was like, "Oh, the puzzle video works because it's about the person that I'm talking to." Like people go, "Oh, he's talking about me." So I took my little spool of thread and I set my iPhone up on my front porch and I looked directly into the camera and I did a 60-second version of the thread trick talking to the person who's scrolling. And that got 6 million views. And it cost me nothing. So like
Yeah.
don't put the pressure that like, oh, I gotta wait till I have all that. Like, no, it works not because it's the best quality, not because it's the greatest trick, not because it's the perfect environment. It works because the person scrolling mindlessly at the end of the day is looking for something. Maybe it's a laugh. Maybe it's they need to forget about something. Maybe they want to believe that something amazing can happen, right? If you show them that and they get that, like, oh, you're talking to them, it'll work. So I just, take the pressure off that you have to like do all these big. It's fun to do big projects, but like it doesn't have to be a big project to have a big reach.
Done is better than good.
Yeah, buddy.
There we go. Lovely little full circle moment there. Oh, I'm going to quickly touch upon. Obviously, you mentioned earlier that you've written 2 books now, and they're both applications and viewpoints of magic, but on life's problems. So, how did these books come about, and what can we learn from magic about life in general?
Oh my gosh. Okay. The first book has a lot of stories of being a magician in it, but it's a lot of these like here's a story from my life and something I learned from it. So that one is more application of just like experience and, you know, how do we take away things from our life. The second book is it's called Misdirection: A Magician's Guide to Spotting and Avoiding Manipulation in Your Life. And what I noticed is the same techniques we use to entertain people are being used against us in every aspect of our life, from business to politics to religion. You know, that if I can distract you or make you think that this is really important so you don't notice what I'm doing over here, right? That's a great way to use our experience as magicians to talk about bigger things. So a simple example is every chapter I teach a trick, and then we talk about how that method, you know, is involved somewhere else. So the salt shaker through the table, these are all like very rudimentary. It's okay to teach people tricks. The salt shaker through the table trick works because I have you focus so much on the coin, thinking something's going to happen with the coin, when my intention was never about the coin. My intention was, I'm going to steal this salt shaker without you seeing, right? Where else is that happening in your life, right? In business, how often does that happen where we thought that the boss cared all about this, but really the whole time he's doing this? And so how do we avoid that? We just ask some bigger questions, right, about why things are going the way they're going. Same things happens with politics or religion. I teach a simple rope trick, and the version I teach is the one where you never actually cut the rope. You just make it look like you cut it. And so if I take a piece of rope and I cut it and I put it back together, I don't have to actually cut it. I just have to make you think it was broken, and then I can take credit for fixing it. So who in your life has made you feel less than, like you're broken, like you're not good enough, so that they can take credit for like being the one to like fix you, right? I just think it's it was a practice of how, especially because I do keynote speeches, it was a practice of how can I take the things I like to do, magic, and use those as a way of not going, look what I can do that you can't do, but do it as a metaphor for life. You know, there's something crazy about, because right now we all think we know everything and we have access to all this knowledge. When you show something in a modern society, when you show someone in a modern culture something they don't understand, they don't know how to handle it, right? And most of the time, the reaction is applause, and then we move on, which is great. In a show where people bought a ticket, that's what they want. Yeah. But if you go into a business environment where people are brilliant and they've built these multi-billion-dollar corporations, you can show that very smart person something they don't understand. For just a brief window, it opens them up to go, what else don't we understand, right? What we can talk about some other things about how we treat each other, or our communication, or you know, different stuff that, hey, maybe we don't have all the answers. So let's talk about how we can find some answers. And so magic's a beautiful tool for that. And then I'll just briefly say mine. I haven't said anything briefly on this podcast. I think for the lightning round, you need a lightning effect that when someone
this podcast doesn't do briefly.
I would just say too, I have a new book that's coming out. It's in pre-order right now. It's coming out in like 6 weeks. And this goes back to what problem are you solving, right? And so the new book is called Tell It Well, and it's a definitive guide to public speaking for people who'd rather be anywhere else. So I just went like, a big problem is that people are uncomfortable talking in groups or talking at work or presenting for their, for a sales meeting or whatever. How can I help them? And I just wrote a book about that. So I think that, just some takeaways we can look at is like, what's something that you are uniquely qualified to help people solve? And sometimes that's providing entertainment in a moment where that's needed. Sometimes that's using the fact that as a magician, you can MC events and keep them moving, right? Like just find the problem and fix it. Anyway, I've rambled off of our subject.
No, 100%. But you make an incredible point there. Like, magic is essentially, or could be used as a platform for you to share knowledge, share experiences, share understanding. Like, it's not just a trick to be applauded for. It can be so much more, and without getting like super philosophical and being like every trick should have a meaning and a purpose, because that's a problem in itself. But it can it can do that, and magic framed in the correct way can genuinely change people's lives. And I mean, you've probably seen that a million times over.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Not everything has to have a point, right? But it all needs to be pointing toward what you want them to believe. Yeah, man, that's it. Yeah, I think we can utilize magic for so much more than we use it. Going back to your question of like, how can we, take the things we know and like have them affect other areas of our life? Like, it's amazing to me how many magicians have studied manipulation their whole life, and they get into a situation where they've been taken advantage of, business wise or relationship wise, and it's like, we're really good in magic about asking big questions. Where else in your life do you need to ask some big questions right now? And sometimes, let's be honest, it's like that thing of why you record yourself and you don't look in the mirror when you're practicing, because you'll blink to make yourself look better. Right? Like,
I am really bad with that. That's one tell that I'm doing a sleight is I blink when I do said sleight, which is, to me, looks sensational. I'm like, wow, I didn't see anything happen. Of course I didn't. My eyes were closed for that process.
Right. But how? I mean, yeah, just your question about life. Where are you closing your eyes right now when you could, like, some of us are like, yeah, I just can't get work because of this or that, or, oh, I'm in this situation because of all these things happening. Look, yes, the world's on fire. Politicians are terrible. Everybody's got an agenda. But sometimes we're blinking so we don't see our own thing of like, oh, I just don't want to do the work to like get in a different situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, anyway. I don't know if that brought it down.
Yeah, way to lighten the mood, eh, Taylor?
You just crashed the plate. No.
You remember that part before where you were saying that trick ended up on the bad thing and you wanted to change that to make it more light? Yeah, about that.
What I don't want to do, I grew up in a like a religious environment where it was just like, well, nothing's bad, everything will work out, everything's fine. It's like, no, there are bad things, right?
And that's okay.
There are bad things that happen, and yet you can still make moves and do cool stuff. And like, you don't have to, if you're only focusing on the negative, you're missing all the beautiful opportunities that exist today. That was more positive.
There we go. We got there in the end. After a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, we got back to where we needed to be.
Buddy.
We've got one final segment before we wrap this up. It's been an absolutely incredible conversation so far, but this is the point of the conversation where I don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know what's going to happen. This is the question deck segment. This is it was 52 cards. I've taken out the cards that have already been answered. So this is 40-something cards. Every single one has a question on. They're completely random questions, from prolific life questions to something meaningless. It could be absolutely anything. I don't know what's going to come up here. It could be magic related. It could be absolute nonsense. But the cards are shuffled. They're mixed throughout every episode while I'm fidgeting under the table just to keep my hands moving at the same time. So I'm just going to call out stop. Again, there's no rough and smooth. There's no breaks or nothing stupid going on. So you call out stop. We find out what the question is and we rock from there. So anytime you want, call out stop.
Stop.
Perfect. You're going to go with this question here. What was the biggest turning point in your magic career?
Oh, geez. Biggest turning point in my magic career.
This can either be from like a creative standpoint. This could be from a business standpoint. It's entirely up to you.
I think so biggest turning point would have been making the first special, because after I put it out, I went, oh my gosh, I got to write a new show. And I mean, the reality is, most people who see me today haven't seen that first special. So that's not totally true. It's not that you can't do the material, but having that mindset for a minute of like, okay, I'm going to put out my show, I'm going to burn it, and I'm going to write a whole different show, was the best thing I could have done. Sometimes I think ideas are like, did you guys have Pez dispensers? The candy? You pop your head back and there's a candy in there. I feel like that top candy that you see is like your show. or your big idea or the thing that you've been working on forever, and it's all you can see. And you get fearful of like, well, if I stop doing this material, I don't have any other material. But there's all these other candies you don't see until that one gets taken out and the other ones show up. And I swear to you, ideas are that way. Every single time I've just been like, I'm going to stop doing that routine. And not because it's bad, but just because I need to put myself in a scenario where I have to come up with something good, right? Like the amount of times where I've had a routine that is just crushing, but I'm leaning on it too much and I'm never going to come up with a new closer because I'm closing with that. I'll just leave the props at home and get on a plane. It's crazy, but the best thing you can do is go create a scenario where you can't just do the same thing you've always done. And so that was a big turning point for me. It was like, just stop being precious with material and burn it and go, I can always bring that back and do it if I want, but I'm not just going to do the same act for 30 years like I've seen so many guys do. Some people love that. Some people are like, they've made a career off 12 minutes. If I had to do that, I would lose my mind. Mark James, this is so bad.
Uh-oh.
Mark James did the Desert Island.
Yeah, the island tricks.
Yeah. It's like, what if you could only do 5 tricks for the rest of your life? What tricks would you pick? I'm like, can I trade those 5 tricks for 1 bullet? Like, it's so terrible. It's so terrible. But like, if I had to do the same act the rest of my life, it would drive me nuts. Yeah. I don't want to do that. So the best way to not have that happen is just to create your own scenario where you can't do those things anymore. So yeah, I think that we'd have some really good stuff if everybody went like, I'm going to take my top 3 tricks and stop doing them. You'll come up with some brilliant stuff just out of necessity.
What for you constitutes as a good trick? Like, what's the difference between this is a good trick and this is a trick that I'm going to put in a show? What's the defining factor there?
I mean, it's all about surprise, right? Magic's all about surprise. And I think especially like because people can see, even like you can go binge magic shows, you can go look up people's full cruise acts. Like people who like magic see a lot of magic. And so a bad trick for me is one that people, when you start the trick, they know what's coming.
Yeah.
So a great trick is just like, holy moly, I didn't see that coming. That's the best. So perfect. Even disguising things that are like premises or props that people think they know what you're going to do with it, and then you just do something different with it is really fun.
I've always wanted to put together a routine specifically just for magicians, for like my local magic circle, where I'm doing stuff seemingly, but I'm doing something like framing it as this is what's happening, but then other things are happening, or doing something but then nullifying it. So like doing a double lift and then second dealing, just be like, why? It's so much fun. Like if you can derail people's thoughts, then possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I remember watching Rick Thomas. He did like a confabulation type routine, and he had this set where like 2 chairs were there, and he was interviewing this couple as if he was a therapist. And he had a prediction box, like a Malloy, the one we all know, the prediction mystery chest. He had it sitting on the edge of the stage. He did the whole routine and then never touched that box. Like it didn't have any, he just had it there as a prop, just so magicians would be, which is so silly. Like
it's so good.
I mean, it doesn't, he did it because he knew magicians were in the crowd. Like most of the audience doesn't know, but it just made me laugh so hard because like, you can see guys trying to figure out how's he going to get over to that or how's he going to load it. The reveal was something totally different.
So good. I love little Easter eggs that are specifically there for magicians. Or more so little Easter eggs that are specific fuck yous for magicians. Where it's just like, good one.
Oh my God.
So good one. Incredible. This has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I've certainly taken an absolute ton from this, and I'm sure the people at home have as well. So again, thank you so much for spending the time sharing your knowledge and sharing all of the incredible things that you've done. It's been an absolutely incredible conversation.
Buddy, thanks for letting me crash the party. And thanks for curating these conversations, man. I think these kind of conversations are the things we need to have in magic. There's too much of like, just the same conversation over and over. And I love that you give us what we wanted. We want to know what lights are and their favorite show, but then you take it deeper, and it really is. It's helpful for me to hear other people who are trying to do the same thing. Just make sure that we're like, yeah, what really matters. So
yeah, thank you so much. It's nice to hear that I'm doing something good. At least you're proud of me. My parents might not be, but you're proud of me, so that's okay. Incredible. What are your plans for the future? Where can we see you performing? Obviously, you mentioned that you've got a book coming out that's in pre-order right now. Where can we get that? What can we look forward to in the future, and where can we find you?
Yeah, for sure. My new book, you can go to tellitwellbook.com. And if you pre-order it, you also get I have a public speaking masterclass that you just get for free with that. That's pre-orders are super helpful for that. And then Instagram Magic Storyteller, same at YouTube Magic Storyteller. I post a lot of stuff of videos of what I'm doing and where I'm at. So if I'm ever going to be somewhere you're at, shoot me a message. I'd love to see you guys out on the road.
Perfect. Incredible. Well, I very much look forward to catching up with you in person again sometime soon. We've had a little bit of a catch up at the Edinburgh Fringe a little while ago, so it'd be nice to see you again in person. And Mark as well, I guess, if he has to be there too. But no, thank you so much for spending the time today. And again, it's been invaluable.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Obviously, you guys listening at home, if you have enjoyed this, please let us know in the comments that you've enjoyed it. I mean, it's nice to see. And also let us know what you've taken away from this conversation. Did you actually go away and pause and write those things down and action them? Or have you just ignored it and gone against everything that Taylor's just said for the past hour? But again, thank you so much, Taylor. Thank you to the guys at home, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.